everybody. It's been a very long time since you all last seen me in my freestyle motorcycle films. I did make a promise that there would be more coming in the last time you saw me in Focus Up, and here we are. It's 2020 and I'm building a hot rod in my garage, okay? So with YouTube and everything like that, I wanted to make my contribution to the internet and bring you guys along in some of the processes that I use and the way I do things when I'm building something. We're gonna start this series of videos off with the painting process that I use when I go about doing either a motorcycle, a vehicle. This could apply to anything else where you're gonna use automotive paints, okay? Over the past couple years, this car has had extensive repairs, extensive body work. I stripped it down to the metal, fixed all the rust, replaced a lot of panels, a lot of welding, a lot of body work, a lot of straightening out. So it's been blocked with 80 grit. I built primer 3 times. The last time I primed it, this is the actual finish. So you don't break your finish until you're actually ready to paint, okay? So what's gonna happen here right now, being that I've already put a lot of components together in the car, because I've done the interior and the engine bay, I'm gonna mask everything up real good. There's a lot of ways to do this, guys, all right? But just because of the situation I'm in, I'm painting this in my house, I'm limited on space. I find that this is the easiest way to do things. Get rid of some of the parts, get the parts on the car, all right? And now we can just do the outside. So this way when I go for assembly, I'm not in and out of the car scratching everything up all the time, all right? Because we have way long to go yet. So for now, here's what's gonna happen. The engine bay has already gone through the same process with the primer as the body of the car, except I've already painted the engine bay, the interior, and the underneath of the car. All right, with single stage urethane, okay? This is a solid color paint, all right? It's the late model Dodge color. You find it on a lot of newer Dodges. Love the color. I thought it was a really good vibe on this car. So it's kind of a cheat a little bit because it's a solid color. There's no metallics, there's no pearls, and it's not a candy, all right? If this was any of those 3, we'd have to put the whole car together and paint it at one time, all right, this way, so it would match. But in this case, it's gonna match for me by painting it in pieces, all right? So in this section right here, I've shaved the cowl. I'm gonna do some pinstripe work right here, and it's gonna get clear coated in, all right? Just a flower pinstripe design. That's the only graphics that's going on the car. So I'm gonna block this with 600. I'm going to do my pinstripe work, and then this is going to get cleared at the same time when I do the clear after I base coat this, okay? So it'll be all one paint job. And this seam right here, which has been shaved, is going to be my brake line, and then everything's going to be one solid paint job from there. Guys, I can't express to you enough, anytime you're painting with automotive style paints, which are urethanes, base coats, clear coats, things of that nature, your prep job is your paint job, okay? I can't say it enough. Old school body guy taught me that years ago when I was a little kid. Your prep job is your paint job, okay? If your prep job is shitty, your paint job's gonna look like shit, right? There's no way, once you spend all that money on materials and all, there's no way to correct it after it's already done. You have to redo it, okay? So you try to just do it once the right way the first time. I just threw some plastic up on the car real quick. I haven't finished taping off, but I did run into a little situation over here I wanted to point out. From washing the car, I did an acid wash on the inside of it before I painted it. The acid kind of stained and it actually lifted my primer in some of the spots. It's really odd because it shouldn't do that, but that's some pretty strong stuff. So anyway, what I need to do is fix that before we go any farther. And I made a little boo-boo right here when I was doing the wheel wells. So the way to do this, I don't know if you can see it on camera. You see how the acid kind of made some marks? All right, but now if you look real close, it actually pitted the surface here. So we got to do a little fix. All right, no big deal, just maxed off. All right, so how we're going to fix this, we'll take a little of this guide coat. All right, Now you don't need a lot. You know, don't go crazy. You know, just spray a little bit. Okay? Just like that. Alright, and that's how it should look. Alright? So now, it's already dry now. So the staining is pretty much, that's going to go away. It's those little pits that we were concerned about. So that's going to be like right here in this area. Alright? Don't mind my little whoopsie. But you just take your block. Alright? Then you try not to block it. You know, you're not going in one way. You want to do like little X's. But the profile of this is going to determine where you got to go. Now they got all these fancy blocks and stuff like that. I use these, you know, and I have very light pressure in my hand right now. I'm not doing anything crazy. All right. So what we want to do is just knock it down and get it ready, because we may have to put a little spot primer on this one section. So you can see exactly where the guide coat still is. And the reason why you want to do that is because this panel's already flat, you see. I've already blocked it. I've done my body work. But now we have a little imperfection here, so we got to build this area up, okay? You can see it real good. You see these little black dots? Those are all low spots. Okay? See right here? Low spots, okay? We got to fix those low spots, all right? Now, as tempting as I am to use a product like an aerosol primer, which you could use a product something like this. All right, it's a 1K primer, self-etch. All right, don't do that. All right, don't do that. It will fry up on you if you do that. And what I mean by that is it will look like you put paint remover on it. All right, this is what happens when you mix 1Ks with 2Ks. All right, the primer that we're going to use is a 2K product. I'll show you here, bench here. All right, this is a 2K product. All right, it's high build, direct to metal primer. So depending on how you mix this, it could be a sealer, it could be a low build primer, it could be a high build primer. But let's get this going, and I'll show you how to put this on. And a spot panel repair. All right, so primer's mixed up, a few minutes on that. All right, we'll go ahead and pop this drill off. I've had it on there for about 5 minutes. This is the same kind of top that you would see in the body shop on your mixing station. If you go to your body shop supply, you just ask them for one of these, a mixed top. They'll give you one. All right, probably about 20 bucks or so. It's really nice, and you can just open it up and pour it. You know, and this stuff's a beast, absolute beast. All right, don't try to mix this stuff without this top. Okay, you'll be there forever. All right, so we're gonna go with old cheapo priming gun here. If I can get it off the rack, one-handed. All right. All right, we have that all set up. It's clean from last time. So basically, this is a PPS system. It's disposable. All right. I don't like cleaning my stuff as much as possible. So I find that this is really easy. You can just take this whole unit, you know, pull this plastic liner out, toss it in the trash. All right. So these work out really good, you know, when you're doing small jobs, even big jobs. So this product, it's a 3-to-1 product. All right. So you come over here to your little. The 3M sells these little things. You just throw this in there. All right. Gives you your ratios. Find the one 3-to-1. So we're going to mix as little as possible. So that meaning we're going to go 1-to-1 right there on the 3-to-1 scale. So 3-to-1 scale, 1-to-1, and we're good to go. All right. So it's like just a little bit. Give it a little mix. All right. Always check these too. See how the top comes? Nice. Check it. Put your lock ring on. good to go. We gotta do a little housekeeping on the air compressor real quick before we call it a night. I forgot about that. So, all right, so here's the deal. I drained this compressor out earlier today. I got a whole bunch of water came out of it, which is normal. You know, I'm in like Treasure Coast, South Florida area, so it's constant issues with the air. All right, the situation going on is, so got the air intake here, built this coil to try to cool it off as much as possible because this sucker gets so hot. All right, and so now we got to have our shutoff here, a regulator. This is, we'll talk about that later. So your first stage, you can see how much water's in it, and see that little ring of oil on top? Nasty. All right, so these two lines, one's for my air tools only, and then this line goes into this 3-stage air filtration and dryer. Okay, so right now there's probably water going to come out of it if I turn it on. See it? Yeah. So we're cleaning that out, all right? No bueno, all right? So you got to pay a lot of attention. So what will happen is this. We'll take this apart. I'll clean this out. This I'll clean out. And these are Descadent beads in there. I got to take those out and get some fresh ones in there. All right, so very important step here. So with that canister removed off the dryer, I dumped the old beads out. These are them. All right, and they get like wet. And when they get wet, they turn pink. That's how you know you got to deal with them. So what you do is you could just put these in the oven and you heat them up, and they turn blue again, like purple, like these. All right, so these are new ones, but because we're doing this, I'm not dealing with that right now. Boom, I'm gonna put some new ones in there, pour it in, get it back on, and then our compressor will be ready to go. All right, well, so we're set up with our gun. It's leaking. I don't know why. All right, so basically it's just gonna be a little spot check. I'll get some air first. All right, we're just gonna cover that up. Nice and wet. All right. Maybe 2 coats. 2 coats will do. All right, that's 2 coats of primer. You can see the body line still looks good. We didn't affect it any which way. You see a little texture there, so now that's what the wet sanding is going to take care of. Notice we kept it right in here. We didn't go to the end. We just kept it far away this way. Same over here. We kept it out this way. So that's our guide coat that we initially put on, and we kept it this way. We don't want a paint edge. You know, we want a nice, clean repair. And that's how you do that. So now we're going to move on to something else, because we're trying to get some paint on this sucker soon. Alright guys, so we just finished doing our spot repair on the rear quarter panel, and I've already exposed this area now, the cowl, because now I'm going to wet sand this, alright? This is going to get wet sanded. This is going to be the final sand before it gets clear coated, because this really isn't going to need any paint. Like I said, so we're setting this up so we can do our pinstripe work here, alright? So I got some 600 paper, all right, it's wet and dry paper. You rip it in half. You just rip it in half like this, fold it 3 ways, so you have multiple surfaces to work with. And then stick it in your bucket of wet water, warm soapy water, right? Just stick it in there, let it sit for like 20 minutes or so. After like 20 minutes or so, the paper gets saturated with that water, and then you can just sit there and wet sand. Alright, so the reason why I've masked this off this way is I'm trying not to make a mess of the engine bay because it's finished, okay? So you do the best you can just to keep everything clean, because right now keeping things clean is important. Alright, so our paper's ready. Just reach in there, grab your piece. Now prior to all this, I've already hit this with wax and grease remover, and I've wiped it down a couple of times. So I first hit it with soapy water, then I hit with wax and grease remover, And now we're going to start with our wet sanding. So we're just going to start nice and flat. Okay. You want to make X's, okay? So you want to start a little bit this way, a little bit this way, a little bit this way, a little bit this way. Okay, don't try to go too crazy because you want to make it flat. All right, nice and flat, nice and slow. There's no rush. Okay. Now when you get to these edges, you just got to be careful. Just scuff them. Don't break the edges. All right. So what you're looking for in the end. See, and this is color coming off, you see? All right, so what you're looking for in the end, you'll wipe it, and just by passing the sandpaper a couple of times, you already can see the little bit of orange peel? All right, see that little bit of orange peel? So we're going to get this nice and smooth to make it look just like this. Okay, and that's ready for clear after we do that. All right. All right. So we got all the wet sanding done on the cowl here. All right, you can see it's nice, it's smooth, it's flat. All right. Now anywhere there's still a little bit of leftover shiny stuff, like here, where you don't want to get in there with the paper, and like here, okay, you're just going to take a dry gray 3M scuff pad. You're just going to get in there. It's a little bit wet here. Just get in there and touch it real quick. No biggie. Alright, I'm not putting hardly any pressure with my hand. Just nice and easy. Just want to knock the shine off. Give the new paint a tooth to grab into. Okay, real important. If it's shiny, it's not going to stick. Alright, so you get this all taken care of. Get that all squared away. And your end result should look something like that. Okay? That's your platform for either re-clearing or flow coating, what they would call, or to set yourself up to do some graphics. And that's what we're going to do. So I'll show you that here in a second. All the wet sanding's been done. We're ready to move on to the next step. So here's how this goes. There's a couple ways to do pinstriping. I'm using a vinyl decal for this job. Normally, you know, years ago you'd have people that would actually paint it on with like one-shot enamels. True artists. I mean, that's really, really skillful. This is something that was computer designed, turned into a vinyl decal. I just got my placement on there. Real good. All right, just a basic, basic decal with the transfer tape over here. But it does have some mill thickness, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it on there and I'll show you how we're going to make that look like paint. So using the transfer tape, I got my placement on there and I peeled back half of it, stuck it, and then peeled back the other half. So now I just go over it, real good. With your finger, you can use a squeegee. This is so small, you just, mush it around a little bit, get it nice and make sure there's no air bubbles and stuff like that in there. All right, so then you'll peel your transfer tape back. And when you get a better quality sticker, the transfer tapes vary in quality as well. So you want to use a high quality transfer tape. All right, you can see. Now that one edge is going to lift towards the top, so then I'll just pull this way up towards it. All right. So that went smooth. Now, just this one edge, I'll just fold this back onto itself like that. So after playing around with it, I decided to trim that center section out, look better. And notice how I have this masked off. So basically what's going to happen is I made this paper just like laying on there. So we're going to spray it down, right? Paper might fly a little bit. but we don't want any hard edges here because ultimately we're going to sand this area anyway. The object here is to make this look like part of the paint job. So what we're going to do is we're going to clear this in and we're going to fade this out just to about here on each side, just a little bit. We're going to do 2 to 3 coats, okay, real quick, and we're going to build up some material on top of this. Then when we come back after it dries, we'll sand it down flush, then we put the final clear on this whole thing. Boom, it's going to look beautiful, okay? It'll look nice and flat. It won't look like a vinyl sticker. It's going to look like part of the paint job. As far as gun goes, I use this for base coat and clear coat. It's a DeVilbiss GTI Pro Light. All right, I've always used DeVilbisses, even back in the day. Once again, you know, PPS cup. But even back in the day, like, I can't tell you how many jobs I've done with this DeVilbiss here. All right, this GTI is the last one I have. The primer gun is the last one I have. The other ones kind of lost them along the way. But even for new guys, if they're getting into painting for the first time, something like this might be a little bit steep to get you started off with. But DeVilbiss makes a finish line gun. I've painted hundreds of motorcycles with finish lines, so we just take it from there. All right, so we're going to use like 33 pounds of air. All right, we'll come in, and it's just going to be a quick. It's just going to be a quick little first coat, second coat, third coat. All right, and that's pretty much it. We'll let that dry, and then we'll come back to do the final sanding. Okay. So what we have here is wax and grease remover. You're gonna have to wipe everything down with this first. Prep-Sol, wax and grease remover, same stuff. And the secret to that is you want to use, I don't know if there's a name on this or whatnot, but basically these are lint-free towels, okay? So they're not like paper towels, they're different, all right? They kind of look like paper towels, but they don't have that lint in there. So I'll give it another wipe down. You know, just fold your, don't saturate it too much, just a little bit. And you'll see, just take where you saturated, just give it a nice wipe. Get it ready to take on the clear coat. So it's a new day, and we got the clear coat on. You can see the little bit of distortion from all the clear. I put about 4 coats on. Once you get that profile on the side, you can see how it looks a little bit raised up. So then where my edges are, you can see the blend area right here. Okay, so then all this is going to get sanded down. All this will get sanded flat. I've done a very loose mask on the car, only because we're going to start the wet sanding process, and I don't want to get any of that sanding residue or any of that water on my freshly painted interior or my engine bay. So just a quick plastic mask, went around the doors and all that stuff. And we're going to get ready to start with our 600 wet sanding so we can get everything nice and flat, get this thing prepared for the base coat and the clear coat that's going to go on the whole body of the car. So wet sanding. I didn't say this part was painfully boring, but the more you do, the better it comes out. I mean, you just got to get it nice and flat. And what you want to do anytime you're doing body work, whether that's hammering dents out, putting your body filler on, blocking, anything like that, you're using the light all the time to your advantage. So you're going to look for waves, you're going to look for those imperfections, and you're going to do that by looking at an angle and trying to see if you can find an imperfection. And each step gets harder and harder because your imperfections should be smaller and smaller. I mean, at this point of this project, there should be no imperfections, but when we do run across them, we address them by blocking them out. That's why we have so much primer on here. So by using the light and getting it nice and wet with the water, you can do this with wax and grease remover too. I don't like to put too much of that on when the primer's opened up like this, because it does sink in there. So what you do is you look at the reflections and you look for your imperfections. You see any waves? So body lines like this, we had this curve, and you have this hard edge right here. Right? You got to get in there, get your paper real tight on your block, lay it in that groove. Right? Just straighten it out. And then when you get to this that turn, always straighten that turn out. Don't go back and forth in it. Just smooth it out. When you come down here, same thing. See that curve? Okay. One stroke. This way and that way. This way and that way. Don't make a crater in between here. Just one pass at a time. Nice. You come over here and you flatten your body line. Flat. Flat this way. This is flat this way. Flat. And then go around the edge. Flat. Come in here, nice round corners. All right. That's blocking. It's wet sanding. Blocking, wet sanding. All right, guys, don't hate on the Crocs, all right? So all the wet sanding's been done. You can see it's nice and smooth, nice and shiny. All right, don't let that shininess fool you now. This isn't shiny like it hasn't been prepped, all right? This is 600 grit wet sanding. All right, it's gonna leave you with a finish like that on this particular type of primer. So it's really good. 600, I like. 600 is good for any of your solid colors, metallic colors, candies, pearls. You know, it's a good foundation. Some people like to use 800. Some people tell you something else. I mean, there's a million different ways to do body work, okay? So this is just the way I do things. So you do notice that I unmasked it all. And that's just because I'm going to clean it one more time before we mask it again to paint it. All right? One thing I wanted to point out to you. Well, as you see me using this fancy bucket here for my water. All right? But this thing is fantastic, okay? So this goes on the bottom of your bucket when you're doing work like this. It keeps all the dirt out, all right? You don't want to have all that sanding residue and the sandpaper grit and all that stuff falling into your water, and you keep bringing it back onto the workpiece and you're scratching it in, okay? That's going to give it, this saves you a lot of time and problems, all right? I've already started taping it up. I'll show you. I use this back tape technique here. So you just use 2-inch tape right on your pinch weld, fold half of it over. And in a large area like this, what I like to do is make a little web out of the tape. This way it prevents your plastic from flying all over the place when you're spraying. I did a little housekeeping, threw up a little bit of plastic up on the toolbox and stuff. I'll straighten it out a little bit better right before we actually spray. I like to use paper when possible, only because sometimes on plastic masking, the paint will dry, and if you go past it, sometimes the plastic will actually let that paint to flake off, and it's a total disaster if that happens in your fresh paint, especially when you're putting the clear on. All right, so I'm starting to tape up the back, and I didn't want to, I don't want to get none of this messed up under here, So you got to do a nice tape job, get way up in there, up into the trim, pull it down. Don't paint underneath your car, okay? Don't do that shit. It's got to look good. All right, nice and tight. Go all the way around. Start with I go from the back to the front. I go from the front to the back, either way. And when you see something like that, see that? You gotta tape that up right there. take your time, little pieces in there, little at a time, and boom. Nice and taped up. See? You gotta go all the way around the car like that. Takes time. We're all done masking it up. You can see how everything is taped up. We're going to protect all the hard work that we've done so far. Usually by this stage you've run around the car several times already with primer, and you know every square inch of this thing. So to get your mind ready, you want to think like a robot. All right, to get your mind ready for this, you want to start on one side at the bottom, and you want to paint up. All right, so paint the rockers first, come up to the quarter panel. As you come up, then do your door jamb, okay? Do your A-pillar, and then you're gonna paint the roof. Then when you jump to the other side, you pick up at the same spot. Continue painting the roof, and then bring it down on the other side. Okay, this is really important when it comes to the clear coat, okay? Clear coats work on a temperature-based chemical reaction. When you mix that clear, you mix the hardener in that clear. Generally, when you're doing a bigger job like this, you want to use the slowest hardener that you can, so the clear doesn't start to kick on you and it melts all together. If you start in the middle and you do this whole side, and then you go to the other side and you want to pick up in the middle again, you're going to have overspray, all right? And you're going to be chasing it around. And so what a lot of people do is, once it gets to that point where you pick up that overspray, now you're going to see a line. So when people come back, a lot of times I've seen they start chasing it, okay? And when you start chasing it, it's going to cry on you, all right? So try to wrap the paint around the vehicle, and you'll eliminate any possibilities of getting that overspray. So if you do get it, it's going to be minimum. You know, it's not going to be a lot. A lot of times, especially in the body shop or whatever, you know, the rear quarter is if you're going to get any overspray, you want to keep it in this area, because you can always come back with like some blender, that's a little secret, some blender, and spray it on your clear coat afterwards, and it'll reactivate the clear in that one area and melt it in. You don't want to do it to the whole car, though, if you get overspray on like the roof or something like that, because then, you know, there's some quality issues with the longevity of the clear at that point. So the point of this too, you want it to last a long time, right? So we want it to last a long time. We want it to look good. It's got to look amazing. We want it to last a long time. And we don't want to get anything, if this was like, say, metallic or a candy or a pearl, we don't want any zebra striping. All right, so we're going to do like a 50% overlap on our fan. All right. And we're going to try to get the cleanest paint job we can. So if we eliminate all the potential problems and address those before we actually start painting, the likelihood of us succeeding and coming up with a clean paint job is better than not planning for it at all. Because at the end of the day, nothing, especially restoration work, ever comes out 100% perfect. You may not see it, but the guy who did the work, or the guy who painted it, or a female, whoever, that person's going to know where the imperfections are. So you got to accept how that comes to you. You know, you try to do the best you can always with it, and that's it. You know, and that's what restoration work and painting and this kind of stuff is all about. So it's always about planning ahead. All right. Okay, everybody, this is it. I took a little time this morning to straighten out the place. We got all our plastic on. We got my materials laid out. Okay. Got the hose set up. A couple buckets under the door. Got another screen there. Got the fan going. It's not the best setup in the world. It's ghetto as shit, but it's going to work. Let's talk about the paint we're going to be using real quick. Shout out to my boy Pedro at Perpetual Paint Supplies in West Palm Beach. Pedro put me onto this paint. Nuru. All right. The high Q line. All right. This is the base coat. This is the reducer. All right, we're gonna see how this lays down. This is an imported product from Korea. All right, you usually see this on like any Korean vehicles. All right, this is the paint that comes on those cars. And as far as the clear coat goes, all right, we're using the Advantage Euromax HS Glamour Clear Coat. All right, the medium activator there, only because the weather's a little bit chilly now. Picked this up, Bondo Bob's, Port St. Lucie. He put me onto this, telling me it's going to lay down nice. All right, first step, wax and grease remover. Don't go crazy with this. Nice and easy. All right, we're all wiped down. See the prep's all starting to flash off. Let's get our paint mixed up. Lightly, just all over it. Try to pick up some overspray. See it? A little bit of gray on there. I'm walking real carefully too. I'm not banging my feet around or trying to be very graceful. I don't want to kick up any dust. See, like there's a piece of dust. I don't know if you can see it. It's right here. See that? All right. I'm gonna hit that real quick with the sandpaper. So a piece of 1200. 1200. A little bit of water. Nice clean towel. If this was metallic, you cannot do this. If it was metallic, it is what it is. Candy, forget about it. Pearls, even worse. All right, just a little quick nib. That's all it took. Maybe one little. One quick one. All right, that's it. I mean, I went over the car pretty good. You know, get all the water off. I went over the car real good, so I don't anticipate I anticipate problems, but not major problems. There's going to be trash. It is what it is. I don't care what kind of spray booth you're in. Cross draft, down draft, whatever it is, there's always going to be a little something fall in your paint. So let me get the clear on and we'll see what happens here. All right, first coat. So far so good. It's like medium wet, nothing crazy. It's been about, I don't know, 20 minutes maybe. Come over by your paper. See, it's a little, see that sticky? Sticky but not stringy. See that? That's how you know you're ready. All right, and when I say ready, I mean now, okay? So let's do this. Beautiful this came out. Nice, right? So this is 3 coats of clear. The temperature did drop on me a little bit. Not using that as an excuse. I did get a little heavy-handed with the clear. On my last coat it did run a little bit in a couple spots. And I do have some trash. Look at how nice. Beautiful. Alright? I do have a little bit of trash. You know, that you can't help. Right, but that'll all polish out. We're going to wet sand it. We're going to buff it. See the run? No big deal. Don't panic when you see that. There's another one somewhere. Right there. See it? Yep. All right. Don't panic when you see that stuff. Okay? I don't want to walk around too much right now because it's super wet. And I don't want to make any more dust than I need to. Our graphic came out beautiful. I mean, just super, super wow. I mean, remember we were talking about reflections? See how the reflection doesn't change? That's what you want, okay? All right, guys. So the next step of this is going to be to let it dry. Wet sand and buff. In the meantime, got my gun soaking now. All right, we'll let it soak for a little while. This is cleaning thinner, like lacquer thinner. A little bit cheaper version of lacquer thinner. All right, you toss these in the trash. This will actually dry, so I'll show you this. Show you what happens, that chemical reaction. So that'll dry. This is trash. All right, we clean up now, and just let the chemicals do what they got to do. Let it lock up. And then we'll be able to start sanding on it. We are back, okay? Say, oh my God, what happened to my paint job? All right, this is the result of the sanding party I've been having all day by myself. All right, because now we're gonna get ready to put the final finish on this car, and I did want to show you and point out a few things. So, you see the roof, nice and flat, okay? It's like almost perfect at this point because I've gone ahead and sanded it with 1200 grit, and I'll show you the other side. It's wet sanding. I'll get into the tools and stuff that I use, but basically, so this is dry now. All right, and you could see a couple of pieces of dust. Yeah, there's one. All right, a couple pieces of dust here and there. There's another one. Nothing major. I think there's a bug or two. Here's a nice bug. See him? Yep. And I had the screen up too. I don't know how they get in here. They love this clear though. Alright, so we'll get back on. You know, I sanded everything and I saved this part for you guys because we mentioned it. Here's the result of the run that I caught right here. And I'll show you what the dust looks like. So that's a piece of dust. We're going to finish sanding that out. We got to get that flat. Okay, and we're also going to get this flat. All right, we'll take care of all this. All right. So real simple. I'll show you the tools I'm using. Not very sophisticated setup here, guys. All right, got my soft blocks. All right, on the bigger areas or on the runs, we start off with 600. Okay, 600 paper, and then the final is going to be 1200. Okay, so a lot of controversy when it comes to this. I like 1200. Okay, the compound that I'm going to use to polish this on the first cut is designed for 1200. All right, there's all kinds of ways to do this. There's some people go all the way up to 3000 paper. All right, you can do that. All right, I find that 1200 cuts plenty good enough to get all your imperfections out, and it shines just right, and it'll hold its retention too. So as this clear coat hardens over the next 30 days, 45 days, it will definitely remain shiny. All right, and you're not going to see any sanding marks. That's the big takeaway from this. Is, you know, you don't want to go down the road a couple months later and all of a sudden you start seeing a bunch of sanding marks. If you do, no big deal. You just buff them out. All right, set this aside to show you guys. And we're talking yesterday. Remember, this is liquid. All right, look at the clear coat. Dry completely solid, see? That's 24 hours, all right? Look at the base coat. Base coat, you can see the reducer sitting right on the top. And all the paint went to the bottom. All right, so different chemicals, different products here. So this is, remember, it's activated. Okay, so that dries, a chemical reaction. There's no air required to dry this. It dries because of a chemical reaction. That's why we're able to sand it today. I don't even think I can get this thing out of here. Let me see. Hey, oh man, it stinks. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I survived the fumes last night from this thing. Holy crap. I mean, it stunk so bad, but it is what it is. All right, there you go. Look. All right, now that's how you can tell a good clear coat also. All right, that's a good clear coat. Look how clear it is. You know, that is crystal clear. Good stuff here, guys. So we're going to take our 600, get a little water on there. What I'll do is I'm going to hold the paper tight on the corner. The block is nice and flat. See how my fingers are? Alright, I'm going to work it. Now I don't want to hit the edge and break through. Okay? So nice and easy. A little finesse here at this one. Alright? Don't try to... I'm doing very light pressure. Very light pressure with my hand. Then we smooth the area. So you'll work it, and then you start smoothing it. And you can already see, I've been doing this for like less than a minute. Okay, just to show you. It's starting to disappear, but you still see a little bump. Still kind of see it a little bit. Now, if this was a garbage truck, yeah, we'd let that go. But this is my little street ride, so we got to make sure we don't get caught out there, you know, people admiring our runs. So now, granted, there's a back window that goes here and all that stuff, but the trim will hide it. But just to show you guys how we get this run out and make it totally disappear. All right, starting to flatten out now. Still see it a little bit. Once again, very light pressure, and I'm trying to stay away from that edge as much as possible. When you have a run in the middle of a panel, pretty easy to fix. But in this, when anywhere you have an edge is pain in the butt. You just got to take your time, and it's not impossible. You just got to take your time. So notice how we're bringing it out. Now, the nice part about this is, you know, we're not trying to match any orange peel or anything like that. Like, this is not what you would, this would do in like a body shop if you were doing, like, say, fixing your lease car. This is not that, okay? Custom paint job. We're making it dead flat. The whole car is going to look like a sheet of glass when it's done, okay? So, give it a little wipe. I think we nailed it. Let's see. Think we nailed it, guys. Alright, and then as far as that little piece of dirt goes, you may or may not be able to see it on camera. See the little shiny, see that little shininess right there? Where'd it go? See it? Alright, we're going to get that out. But now we're going to switch back over to the 1200 because we don't have to be that aggressive with this. There's our 12. Notice we always do an X pattern, or try to as much as possible. X's keeps it nice and flat. Because you don't want to. You can still create waves in your final finish by doing this. You know, you don't want to see any waves. You want it to be nice and flat. So being that we did that, we just drag it. We're going to put a 1200 finish all the way, nice around the corner here. See, around the corner, nice finish. Now we do open up our strokes a little bit to get it nice and flat. Some mortar. What I like to do, we'll just take it all the way to the end. Now, nice and easy on that body line, okay? Spent a lot of time making that body line nice, so you don't want to mess it up at this point. I mean, as I'm doing this too, I mean, the paper's gliding across this. It's really smooth. So, that should do it. Give it a wipe. Clean towel. All right, let's check our work. So here for you, I got set up our weapons of choice. Okay, so I don't know. I know there's a lot of materials out there. I've been using this my entire life. Okay, this works. This product works amazing. So use these foam pads. You can use a wool pad or a foam pad. This is for the compound, the cutting compound. And this gray one, this is for the polish, okay? So that's that. When you're done putting this on, this thing is going to look absolutely amazing, okay? So this is the product, right? 3M. This is the polish, okay? They Velcro on, right? On your pad, this is an adjustable, variable speed buffing machine, okay, use like medium pressure. You don't use a big area, all right? Nice, like you're working like small sections. So one of the things is this: we used water. Almost tripped and bust my ass. All right, we used water to wet sand, okay? At this point, do not, and I will say it again, do not have any water on this surface that you're going to try to buff now. Especially in like all these little, like this channel here and in the door jambs and stuff like that. Get all that water out, because if you mix water with this buffing compound or this polish, yeah, you're going to ruin, well, you're not going to ruin it. You're going to make a mess, okay? It's an absolute mess. The polish will not work. You know, then you're going to be like, oh, why is it not working? And, you know, do a little bit more and then wipe it and this and that. And it's just, it makes a total mess, all right? And it's a waste a lot of time. So make sure everything's nice and dry. Clean up your area, because you're getting ready for your final finish now. All right, get a little compound on there. I've got to break the pad in. It's dry, you know. Let's see how this works out. Not too fast. Nice and slow. I'll slow it down when I get to the edges, okay? Medium pressure. You can see it's starting to shine. It's coming up right away now. Nice, right? So, just give it a little wipe. Just see how you're doing. Look at that. Beautiful, right? No problem. Okay? Now do the whole car. Okay? Whole car, right? Takes time, guys. We're here at the edge of the door, right? And I do see a little bit of sanding marks right here. I don't know if you can see it on the camera. I mean, we're talking about, it's super, super fine. That's definitely something I want to address. Now, when you're buffing, you're always moving the buffer around and it swirls. It's not a dual action. So we're going to make sure first thing, even though I want to get just that spot right there, I'm going to wet out this whole area a little bit. I'm going to use a little bit extra compound here, because I want it to get super wet, okay? All right, so that'll do it, right? Now, understand, this buffer, when I start it up, if I'm looking at the back of it, it's spinning clockwise. So what we want to do is, we want the edge of the buffer, the edge, this wheel, watch it buff, watch it turn, see? Okay, so it's spinning clockwise. We want that to roll off the edge, like that. See? I'm one-handing this, so it's kind of a pain, guys. We want it to roll off the edge like that. You do not want to go down on the edge like that. You'll just rip the paint right off the car. Okay, so this is like some of the nerve-wracking parts. Okay? But you gotta do what you gotta do, all right? So see how very low RPM. Tough doing this one-handed, but you'll get the idea, right? So now, when I come back, I'll use my dirty towel. Okay? We don't break that edge. You see? Takes a little practice, guys. I mean, you may burn up a corner here and there. Trust me, I mean, throughout the course of time of my life that I've been doing this, I've had my whoopsies, believe me. You see how it starts looking now. So keep checking yourself, you know, a little bit of residue left over. Give him a little wipe. All right, we're almost there, guys. Almost there. We're gonna continue finishing up the whole car like this, and then we're gonna put the polish on, and it's really gonna pop. At this point, it's getting harder and harder to see. See the dust? Right? It's dry, so that dust just, it wipes right off. This is the part where I was saying with the water, be super careful with it, because this will just smear and just make a mess, okay? So right now it just comes off. I mean, look at the finish right now. Absolutely gorgeous. I mean, really nice. Remember our graphic in the beginning, how we put it on? Look at how nice it is now. Look at an angle, I mean, it's literally part of the paint job. It's right in there, okay? So, she's shiny again, guys. All right? Really, really nice. So I've gone around and I've blown down all the dust from the compound. I got it all out of the nooks and crannies and stuff like that. And you can check your work as you're going along. Sometimes it's nice to have a nice, good flashlight. Let me get it going here. You know, you take your flashlight, how good you're gonna be able to see that. Well, just I use it off camera, you know, to see where I'm going. You're looking for any of that haziness left over by the sanding and all that, but I mean, I got it pretty good. If I take it out in the sun, there might be one or two little spots here and there, but I think for the most part, we got like 99% of it. Okay, so moment of truth now. Like always, you gotta be super clean about this. This is the last step coming up, is to put the polish on. So all I'm gonna do now, I have a very, very lightly damp towel. I'm just gonna wipe down the final remnants of the dust. Okay, I'll do the whole car. Just wipe it down, nothing crazy. Wipe everything, because if that compound mixes with your polish, you're gonna start getting swirl marks. You don't want that, you know? This stuff designed, it's a rotary buffing machine, and when you're done, you're not gonna have any swirl marks if you do it properly. Okay? So let me get this wiped down, I'll be right back. So the polish goes on the same way, similar, except you don't use that much. So a couple little drops, that's it. You see, just a little bit, all right? This stuff is gonna go a little bit, goes a long way. So once again, we take our buffer, we got changed our pad up. You wanna mind your extension cord now. You don't wanna rub it against the side of the car. Just working in a little bit so it doesn't sling everywhere when we first start it up. All right, and nice and easy. All right, I'm still like kind of one-handed in here, but all right, guys, this is it. This is it. This is your finished product here. Give them a little wipe. All 'em. 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 ' That's it, guys. All right. So again, do the whole car. Okay. And then we'll be back. I'll show you what it looks like. And just like that, boom, it is done. Look at this. Look at this beautiful paint job, guys. All the polishing's done. I wiped it down. I mean, look at the reflection I'm getting. And that's just in this LED lighting here. And I can't wait to take a look at it outside in the sun. Notice I left all the masking on because we didn't want to get any of that stuff in there during this process. You know, try to keep everything as clean as possible. But man, guys, look at this. Look at how beautiful it came out. Wow. All right. Super, super shiny, super straight, super glossy. This is the most satisfactory process that I can think of. I mean, this is 3 years in the works, getting this body straightened out and building a car. It's just another step moving forward. And boy, am I happy. The car is a new vibe, whole new attitude. I mean, look at this. Look at this. All right. Now, it's not perfect. Never going to be perfect, guys. All right. There's some spots on the car. You know, I mean, she's just not perfect, all right? There's nothing ever perfect. However, it's damn close, all right? So I'll get it unmasked. I'll throw the wheels on it, throw it outside, and we'll take a look at it, what it looks like in the sun, okay? Let's talk dollars and cents. What does it take to get a paint job like this? All right, if you have nothing, no tools, no equipment, it's gonna, forget it. You bring it to a body shop, okay? If you have your tools, if you have your air compressor, you have a hose, you know, you got a dryer, and then, okay, you got, you know, a spray gun of some kind, all right? And you just had to go out and buy your consumable materials from your local body shop supply. All right, and that includes your sandpapers, your little roll-lock pads, your primer, your longboard paper, your cleaning solvents, your paint, your clear coat, your polishing compound, and all your systems in between. All right, roughly, I would say you're going to be up there around $2,500 to $3,000. Okay, that's what it takes to do a paint job of this magnitude. If you're looking for something like a quick job, you have other options too. You can take your car to a Mako, all right, or any type of a cheaper place. But if you prep it right, and you bring it to a place like that, and all they're going to do is shoot it, and when you get it back to your house, you can wet sand it and polish it. It's going to look like $1 million, unless they do a total crappy job spraying it. But there's options out there. I mean, this is about, I'm not going to say extreme, but this is a high quality paint job. Can we make it even better? Sure, we could have sanded this all down with like 600 or 400 and then re-cleared it again, gave it a flow coat, all right? Then buff it out. And it just, you know, at what point, how good does it have to be, you know? This car, for me, this is good enough. This is where I think it's good. I'm going to be happy with it. And it's all about your personal taste. Now, if you feel like your skill level is just like, oh, let me rattle can the whole car, flat black it, hey, that's your prerogative. But one thing I want you to take away from watching a video like this, maybe your prep job will be better. Maybe your sanding skills will will be a little bit better by watching something like this. This is not an instructional. This is just how I do things. But take some of the tips and tricks that I show you guys here in these videos and apply them. You know, the body industry is a tough industry to be in. You know, I'm not in the industry anymore. I'm just a regular guy working out of my house in my garage. It's a tough industry, but you know, it's a good skill to have. And I see a lot of younger people these days lack skills, you know, and hey, I'm sorry to have to be maybe the older guy that teaches the younger guy or the younger girl, whatever, how to do some of this stuff. I mean, when I was a young boy, an older guy, well, a bunch of people, I mean, I took information from and learned, but several, you know, old school body shop guys I picked up from, you know, and I learned, you know, and these are guys, the technology was totally different back then, but body work is still the same, you know. So with that being said, guys, if you like what you see here and you like this type of content that I'm putting out to you, hit that subscribe button. It'll mean a lot to me. All right, I want to keep making these videos, and I want to keep showing you some of the things that I've learned throughout my life, so you can take them and apply them in yours. And tell your friends, you know, tell your friends about it. So thank you very much for watching if you've made it this far. And I promise I'll keep it coming, all right? Peace.